Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're going to work on one of the reels that I previewed. This is an interesting one. It has every look and appearance, including an etched side plate of a Penn 67. But this reel is called the Schultz Jones Beach, and it says that it was 122 Nassau Street in New York. So Nassau Street, for those of you that may or may not know it, is down at the base of the lower tip of Manhattan. And I haven't been able to find anything about Schultz as a real manufacturer in New York in particular. I did find a little information that said that they were a sporting goods store, and so the speculation is that perhaps these were made as a trade reel for that sporting goods store. But we're going to find out. We're going to take this apart. Sam sent it in. We're going to see what it looks like inside. He asked me if I could service it. Certainly I will. I have a suspicion that it will look very much like a Penn reel, and the frame size and the frame posts look almost identical to the Penn Long Beach 67 reel. And the only difference is none of these parts seem to be marked. So Penn normally would mark their pieces and parts with little numbering on there. But again, I'm not seeing the numbering, but that doesn't mean that Penn didn't make it as a trade reel. So we got some work to do. Anybody who's out there who knows about this reel and is watching my channel about this reel, please let me know. I did a search on Orca, which is the old reel collectors, and I found that as a sporting goods store, but I didn't find anything in there about it as a manufacturer. So a couple of things. I'm working with a glove to protect my hand from the chemicals and the stuff that's inside the reel. Also working with a parts tray. It's the bottom of a milk jug, and actually that one's an auto antifreeze jug, but that's okay. You get the idea. Just repurpose, recycle, reuse kind of stuff. And I'm just use that to collect all my pieces and parts, so that when it's time to go ahead and put the reels back together, I know where to find them. So that's a good tip for those of you that may be starting reel repair for the first time. And I don't use a glove in my right hand because I just don't have the feeling in it for working the tools. But other than that, there we go. So I want to take the moment here to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody that's involved in keeping us safe during this pandemic. Without your efforts, and you know who you are, first aid, first responders, EMTs, everybody that's in the healthcare environments, as well as our essential personnel, including our teachers and delivery services and all of the folks that are trying to keep our life normal. Thank you. It's truly appreciated, and you are our local heroes. I appreciate everything you're doing. All right, so we have 6 of the side plate screws. They're all the same. That's why I lay them on my table. I want to make sure that they're all the same. If they're not, I note where the ones are that are short or long. And this is very much a Penn reel style here. We have 2 screws on the reel seat that are shorter. So, and again, that etched side plate very much looks like a Penn side plate. Well, inside, again, they're not marked, but that's definitely a Penn interior design. I'll take this off, and with these reels, I want to do a little bit more. We're not going to do that for this part of the piece, but I'm going to remove all of these pieces. I'm going to use a polish to clean up the bright work on that. So we're just going to set that aside for a moment. You can't do much when you see this stuff. The corrosion, you can't polish corrosion, but we're just going to go by that. All right, let's take the 4 bridge plate screws out. And so this one is looking like a Penn trade reel, and I know that their crosstown rival Ocean City made all kinds of trade reels. I just am not familiar with Penn doing it. There's been some Japanese manufactured reels from the 70s and the 80s that use the Penn design, but they were made in Japan. This one doesn't appear like that at all. Again, it's earlier. It's probably 50s or 60s, and it's marked Nassau Street in New York, though I haven't seen anything that said made in the USA. Well, here's another indication of Penn. So we have 2 screws with the partial threading, and we have 2 screws with the full threading, and that's how Penn sets up their bridge screws. We also have almost an identical flat spring, which is for the anti-reverse dog. And everything in here is looking Penn. So I don't know full story here, but we're gonna do a little bit more work and see if we can't do that. So we're continuing with this service then. The last thing I'm going to want to do in terms of this reel is identify, see if the Penn 60 drag washers work on this. And if they do, then we're all set all around on this one. So this bridge sleeve here, the gear sleeve, gets poked out with a little pusher. You can see how it comes through there. Let's see if I can find a little bit more push there. So you can see how it's coming out. You just push it through. I use a little pin to do that. And then you may need an assist with a pliers. If you do, just grab it gently. You don't want to gnarl this thing up. You want to inspect all of these little cavities here. That's where the anti-reverse dog is going to go. You just want to inspect them to make sure that they're all sharp and that there's none that are rolled over. So let's give that a little shot of penetrating oil there, as well as some onto the bridge itself. And we'll wipe that down. If you need a little bit more, you would go with a kitchen scrubby or some steel wool. That will assist you in getting some of the hard stuck greases off of there. I'm going to use a cotton swab, get the interior out. The interior was clean. So let's just go put this reel back to some extent. We're going to keep the pieces and parts off the table. That's the best way to do this. So we put some fishing reel grease in there. I'm using a Penn fishing reel grease. I use Penn precision reel grease, and then I'm going to pull that little pin in with my pliers. You want to make sure that that pin clears the shoulder here. It's not quite cleared. So I just can't push that down with my hand. Alright, I think we got that. There's a hard washer here, and that appears to be fine. We're going to go put that back onto the bridge. Let's go ahead underneath here and see what we got with the drag washers. Well, these drag washers are leather, and they're broken. So we're going to hope now, we probably should have looked at the 60 washers before we got crazy on that, but we're going to hope that the Penn Long Beach washers fit in here. I think they do. This is very much a Penn reel in design and look and feel. So we're going to take 3 of the new HT100 washers. We're going to install them. We're going to check our teeth on the main gear. You want to make sure that they're all aligned and uniform and clean. You also want to check the back. This back has some buildup of old grease. I'm going to use my steel wool for that. You could use a screwdriver or something to kind of do the scraping if you like. That's pitted and corroded. There's not much we're going to be able to do there, but we can do what we can. You also want to take a brush, and you want to clean the grooves of your gear. Just like that. Once you do that, wipe off anything that might be hanging around the side. We'll go grease it up. Again, I'm using a Penn precision reel grease for this. That's available through Mystic Parts, which is a Penn parts distributor. There's others out there. Southwestern Parts is also out there. You can also get the grease online on Amazon and some other suppliers. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to take that washer. I'm going to use Cal's Universal Dry Grease now. If you don't have Cal's grease, don't run out and buy it. I happen to have it. This is a perfect fit, so again, another indication that this thing is Penn. Your metals are clean, so you don't need to do anything there. Again, if they were a little bit damaged, you would want to go use your steel wool to clean those off. I'm going to pull those 2 off of here. you can see that they're just, and that's just because they've dried and aged. There's nothing that the reel did wrong with that. I'm just going to feel we're clean there. The middle one is called a keyed washer. That goes in next. I'm going to do one more with the new washers. And there is debris on that cap washer, the top one. So I'm just going to do what I was recommending to do before. Clean that off. Okay, so if you like this kind of thing, if you're interested in a hobby of reel repair, or if you just have one reel that you're kind of looking to repair, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to my channel, and you'll see everything that I do, most of the things that I do. I don't do redundant videos. If I have one in my library, I generally will skip the next one around. But if I don't have one, I'm happy to let you watch along with me as I go to fix these and service them so that you can see them work and see how to work on them if you have one. All right, we want to pull this to the upside, then remove it. I'm holding my finger on the yoke and the pinion gear. Those two springs came out. I'm just going to do a light cleaning here. I'm going to use a penetrating oil. In this case, it's the CRC Power Lube. I use the penetrating oils as a general degreaser and cleaner. And I'll wipe the internals off with a paper towel. And then I will get that cotton swab to go into that tight spot there where you can't get around that bearing. And just clean out those channels. When you go to reinstall, the flat spring is going to go on this side. You'll notice that there's a little stud here. And that's going to wrap around that. We'll show you that in just a moment. Again, you want to make sure that they're clean. In this case, these are clean. You go ahead and take the yoke off. I'm going to leave those springs right there just because we're coming right back in terms of putting these together. But if I was going to walk away from my project, I would certainly take those springs and put those springs in a safe place. That is my parts tray, so that I know that I won't lose them going forward. Do the same thing with the pinion gear. You're going to inspect it. There's nothing in here. This is dead dry. If you found that there was some debris in there, go ahead and take that that brush again. You can use a toothbrush. You can use a wire brush. Any kind of parts kind of brush will work for that. And just go ahead and do that. We're going to put a little dab of grease onto the bearing and around the bearing. That's why I use the little brush there. That's an artist's brush. But I use that just because it can get into some of those tight spaces. Put a little bit of grease onto the yoke. Now we're going to put the two springs into those cavities. So again, everything we see kind of screaming at me that this is a Penn Long Beach 67 that was rebranded as a Schultz Jones Beach reel. And research to be done, TBD, right? I'm going to take my steel wool now and a little bit of metal polish. It's an automotive polish. I'm just going to run that around the outside of this to pick up the old grease and to try and clean up some of that bright work. And a little bit on that inside track there, so we'll get that out with the Q-tip, cotton swab. And you can see after all these years it still cleans up pretty nicely. Let's get that old stuff out of there. All right, here's the way to reinstall now. We're going to take one of the fully threaded screws which goes below. We're going to get our bridge plate in. It's been lubed already on the main gear. Halfway, hold that pinion gear down. Here's our long anti-reverse dog and our flat spring. So our flat spring is going to go on top of the anti-reverse dog here, going to wrap around the pole and lay against that side channel of the side plate. So there we go. It's properly installed. Just watch it. These things have a tendency to fly, but you may or may not be able to see. It's laying on top here, wraps around the stud, laying on the side plate there. Once you do that, complete your rotation of the bridge. And then kind of a little bit of dexterity here, but I'm trying to work for the camera. Just get a few turns on that so that you know that bridge screw got started there. Then we want to install the rest. I go high-low kind of alternate, northeast, southwest kind of a thing. So I have one below, so I'm going to take a partially threaded screw that goes through that spring, go up top, come over to the other side again, the other partially threaded screw on the other side, and none of these are tightened down at the moment. I want to leave that bridge somewhat floating just so that I can get all of those started. And now that they're all started, now I'll tighten them down and I'll work in the opposite order. So I did one up top, come over to the other side, go up top on the other side, come down to finish that. All right, well, if we did this correctly, this should turn easily. Oh my goodness gracious, all those years and it still turns nice. All right, let's clean this up. So part of working on an old reel, the fun of it is to see the designs. A lot of it is kind of history, right? You want to find out a little bit more about the reel. I certainly want to find out a little bit more about this reel. And again, if anybody knows the story behind this, please let us know. That's one thing that's good about our viewers here. They're able to help other folks, and they're a wealth of information. So again, you might want to subscribe just to see what's being done, but you also might want to subscribe just so that you're aware of the comments and things that get posted along the way. It's kind of an educational thing. And right now I'm using a Penn rod and reel cleaner to clean up the dirt on the side plate. Not because it's a Penn, just because it's a nice cleaner. That works very well. And so you can see the difference already. That's pretty darn shiny, right? And I'll just complete that here on the outside. Time to reinstall. We're going to do this just to show you, but when I get done with this video, I'm actually going to pull those other cross posts off and do the cleaning on the other side like we just did here. So just to kind of bring this full circle at the moment, we're going to put a couple of these side plate screws in, put the handle back on, and we'll do a test. So if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I do kind of start my mornings with a cup of coffee and try to answer the questions I can in the comments section. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. And then on the reel repair itself, like Sam did here, if you have a reel that you would like to be worked on, if you leave me an email on my business card that follows, use the secondchancetackle@gmail.com. I'll be happy to provide you with repair information. All right, well, I'm only going to put 3 of these side plate screws in, 1 on each side and 1 in the reel seat. And again, that's because I'm going to go take the reel off and do the cleaning on the other side here, but I don't want to leave this project without at least giving it a test and letting everybody see the results of this cleanup. So what did we do? We kind of took a lot of pictures here. I recommend taking pictures. I've done it as a video, right? But we've taken pictures so that we know that if we're opening up an old reel that we don't know anything about, at least we can go back and look at the pictures if we get stuck along the way. We took this reel apart, and when we opened it up, we thought we saw a Penn reel inside. There was a lot of evidence of that. There was an evidence in the bridge plate screws, kind of being the way that Penn sets their bridge plate screws. We saw the Penn 60 or Long Beach drag washers fit perfectly, thank goodness, because these needed to be replaced. And you saw a little bit of a step-by-step process here in terms of how to go about doing things like removing that bridge sleeve so that you could clean and grease underneath. And now we've got the reel kind of ready to go. So let's see what happens. This is turning nice and free without being engaged, so that's all good. We got a little squeak here. I know what that squeak is. And what that squeak is going to be is we didn't put any grease on the spool or on that side plate bearing there. So that's what this is making a noise about. But that is going to go away as soon as I disassemble, clean, and re-grease. And actually we can probably just take the bearing off here just because somebody says, oh yeah, right, that's what it is, right? I'm just going to take that and put a little bit of grease into that bearing. Just like that. These bearings do come off on the back side plates. So if you just want to do a quick service, just go ahead and pull that bearing. You can do a quick service along the way. You can do it on this bearing and then pull this for the oil cap. And look at that. Not purposely shut up for a moment because I knew that's where the squeak was coming from. So there you go. The Schultz Jones Beach, 122 Nassau Street, New York. If you know that this was made by Penn or any more of the history behind it, please let us all know. And with that, I'm going to wish you a great day. I thank you for watching. This has been a fun one. And please stay watching as I post many videos along the way. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.